Alright, everybody, welcome to the secret history living in your aquarium. Today we have some tiny little friends that I thought we'd check in on. These are the itty bitty baby bettas. These are betta fry, and there's no betta fry in this tank than these ones. These are probably now about a month old, maybe a little bit less. So now some of them have been growing much faster than the others. You'll see that there are a variety of sizes here, and they're in with the blue Neocaridina shrimp. These bettas I got from Aquatic Arts, and that's aquaticarts.com. Now, this fish here, and you'll see another one that has a nice stripe on it. Those are actually not bettas. Those are going to be Somfongzi rasboras, and they are another fish that was highly endangered. There were only 3 known specimens left in the world, actually, at one point, and they bred them back from that trio that they found in Germany. They're endemic to Thailand, Bangkok specifically, just right outside of Bangkok. And so they have kind of a cool story, and you'll see them floating by every so often. Now, the way I hatched these fish, we'll take a look at in a moment because I have another group of them hatching right now. But here is a look at that Tin Winnie Danio also that's in here. Now, these are the gold ring Danios. These are the ones who have the gold ring on their eye, which ironically is kind of a bluish silver when they're young, and then they start to get polka dots kind of later on. So that's what that is. So we've got the Somfongzi rasboras, which have a singular stripe and then a little stripe on their fin, but a singular body stripe. And then we've got the 3-stripe, which will turn into dots, Tin Winnie Danios, and then the rest of these are mostly bettas that are just waiting to grow and turn into the fry that you can actually start seeing their betta-like qualities. Now, these ones are very small, obviously, and you may not even be able to tell, like, that's going to grow up to be a betta, but you can see that they start to grow a tiny little, let's see if we can find a bigger one here to examine closely. They start to grow a tiny tail fin, a stabilizing anal fin that actually brings some color, and their bellies have some color right now simply for the fact that they've been eating brine shrimp, and that gives them kind of a nice red color. But you can see that the really small ones are still trying to pick off things like vinegar eels and microscopic food in the tank. So right here with that little stripe, that's a Somfongzi rasbora that's hiding behind this leaf right there. You see that stripe? But the bettas, there's another Somfongzi. And there we go. There is a betta right here. They've got the kind of coppery eye and the belly that's kind of extended. It used to be the yolk sac, if you remember in the early videos. And now that we're a month to 2 months in, there's 2 different groups in here of the betta fry. This is what we're getting, and I actually saw that it appears we're getting one of the bettas will be a all white betta, which is quite something. That's what it looks like to me, anyways. The baby has color in its eyes, so it's not albino, but it is so opaque, milky, kind of translucent looking. So thought I'd show you that, and then I'll show you where and how I'm raising all these little fishies up. But let's try to scare a couple more of those well-developed fish out into the open here so that I can show you what I was talking about. I wanna put them on display for your amusement. I hope you guys are all doing well, staying healthy, washing your hands, so forth and so on. And by the way, thank you so much for there we go. There's the queen of the ball right there. You can see that bulldog mouth kind of thing, the kind of droopy mouth that would suck in, and you can see that fin right at the back there, from her distended belly, full of eggs, all the way back to her tail, and then her tail has that same translucence. So she's been hiding a lot. I'm not exactly sure why, but she is going to be just a beautiful fish, I think. We'll have to keep an eye on her. When she was really teeny, like these other bettas in here that are zooming around. Let's see, where are they at? Try to get you guys one more shot of some of the bettas that are just zooming around. That's a Somfongzi. You can see the line on its side. And then here, one more Tin Winnie. There's that Twin Winnie. Almost looks like a zebra Daniel, doesn't it, guys? And it's just hanging out with the shrimp for size comparison. There we go. Here's another betta. So this is another betta from the first clutch. And you can see, again, you've got that that red coloration. The other one had that clear coloration, which was kind of cool. But here we've got that red coloration, reddish purple with, it looks like there will be blue from the color in that fin underneath. And as I said, yeah, here we go again. So it looks pinker here, but it's actually a dark crimson color fish. And you can see, here we go, now that I've adjusted the light a bit, you can actually, sorry if it gets grainy, you can actually make out that looks quite a bit like an actual adult Betta Splendens or Betta Falx, Betta Macro. I mean, it looks like a lot of different bettas, actually. It would be hard to tell them apart. And then we've got another one back here that looks like it's going to be orange and red. So, interesting selection, and I'm going to have to move them out of here rather soon. They're doing so well in here that it's a bummer to me. You can see they're just hunting all the time. And part of the success of this tank and this setup, actually, is really just because I have, I keep shrimp in here, and then when the shrimp are doing their thing and just breeding and multiplying, which is most of the time, there's no fish in here and no way to have the little critters in here eaten that the fish like to eat. So there's all sorts of interesting little, you know, teeny tiny little worms and things like that, and plankton and nematodes and all sorts of stuff in here that keeps the fish definitely feeding when they're this small. And then I'll feed them vinegar eels and brine shrimp and all that good stuff to fatten them up a little faster than nature would in this ecosystem. But I just want to show you, with this method of doing things like this, you can actually be pretty successful. Now here, this happens to be a little angelfish, and so you can see that it's starting to get its interesting shape, and it is one of the very few. I think there were maybe 5 or 6 eggs we saved from the angelfish, but I thought I'd show you guys one of those while I was hunting around in the tank. And then we've got some really teeny little, I don't know what these are. These may just be very delayed. They could be angels, I suppose, but they could just be very delayed bettas. They're very, very small if we compare them to the other ones. Now I know that these are bettas up here with the bronze or copper eye. That's the tell on them if they don't show their finnage yet and their shape. And that's actually, wow, we have more species in here that I thought. That's an erythromicron back there, and the way you can tell is that if you rewind the taper, if I can get it to come back into focus, it will have a little dot on its tail. And that little dot tells you that that's what it is. So it has right in the center of the tail, there is a dot right where the fork of the tail and the shaft of the peduncle, the body, and the tail meet. And the way that I have so many different little fry in here, and you have to be careful because some grow much faster than others, and then they end up eating each other and so forth. The betta fry will not even stop for a moment to think, should I eat my brothers and sisters? They're just gonna go for it. But the Somfongzi rasboras, the tinwinnies, they're fine. They're just gonna grow a little bit quicker, and that's fine. I'll grab them when they're probably a third of an inch out of here. Now they do have the ability to eat baby shrimp as well if we have any really newborn shrimp, and as you guys may have seen, there are a couple pregnant female shrimp around here buried up, so I have to look out for their well-being to some degree also. But it kind of depends on how the rest of these bettas turn out. If they're turning out really beautiful, I can trade in a few live baby shrimp, like from this gal, for some really good quality offspring fry. So now that you see the fry, you see the different kinds. Also, you see that I'm starting to separate a little bit the Riley, blue Riley or blue Riley shrimps. I'm leaving the females in here, and then the males are all just their normal blue. And then the males that are either Riley or really, whatever you want to call them, they're back over in that tank. But where the magic's happening is in here. And so I let all these different fish, so here's the tinwinnies, the gold ring danios, and these guys are 2 years old. These are full grown. Got these from Aquatic Arts online also, as well as the Betta. She's the mother right there, and she's kind of feisty. And these guys were giving birth the other day down in here. So when I fed them with live food, then I separated them by gender, and then I plopped them down in there in dim lighting, and that was that. When the bettas started to make a bubble nest over on this part of the tank, I simply scooped away, about a day into that, I scooped away the eggs, and they went from floating to sinking, and I took a toothpick and I put some methylene blue onto the toothpick, and let's move a couple eggs just so you guys can see them. Now these are actually hatching and starting to wiggle on their own. You can actually see 2 eyes on some of these when I pass over them. Let's see, I don't want to smush them. Can you see them moving there? You see them wiggling their little tails? And this methylene blue, you can see their tails right there, don't get stuck to that. The methylene blue stops fungus really well. So even though there is some algae that's kind of formed in there still, we've got that methylene blue really helping to protect fungus and bacteria from growing badly on these fry. So these fry here, we have a couple angelfish fry, and we have a couple of the betta. And from here, we'll let them hang out for a bit, and then we'll put them down here. And the the little teeny babies in about a week or two, when they're all the size of the biggest ones we saw in there. When the smallest ones hit that size, and the bigger ones are probably half an inch by that point, we'll move them, and maybe might be moving them up here. This might be the medium grow out with the rasboras and the erythromicrons, as well as the daisy rice fish and malawa shrimp. Alright guys, that is kind of the secret to the madness around here. I use Fritz blue, methylene blue, and I just simply take a dowel or a toothpick and put it in the blue and then dip it into there, and that diffuses. This is maybe too blue, honestly, so we shall see how things do. I'm experimenting a little bit, and I'm also experimenting with leaving a lot of algae in here because the bettas seem to be eating it and really liking it. So once they're about a quarter of an inch or half an inch, the bettas specifically get rid of the other little fry in here, and we will take the bettas, get these two adult bettas out and back into their bowls upstairs, and which are like a 2-gallon setup, and then we can work on acclimatizing them to one another to trigger another spawn, and same with these guys, and then hopefully those baby bettas can hang out in here, and maybe they'll really get a kick out of eating some of this algae, and then I'll be starting to feed them. Right now I'm feeding them brine shrimp. I started with basically paramecium, just little teeny, you can't even tell what they are, they just looks like milky water. There's a video of how to start a paramecium culture that I can possibly drop a card, so look for that in the corner if I'm able to link that, and otherwise you can go back and look it up in my videos from a couple weeks ago. Also, if you need any of the tools or tricks of the trade, whether it's, you know, turkey baster or little fry keeper, you don't necessarily even need an egg tumbler for this level of taking care. You just leave the water on the inside. You could also have it overflowing over the top if you had a mesh, but regardless, for this level of care you don't need to do a ton, and so there's a few little things like you know, scissors, thermometers, methylene blue, stuff like that that I've linked in the description, and in the description to past videos if you need it. I hope it helps you out having it linked down below. Alright guys, well, I will talk to you next time. Be sure to take care of your fish and your plants and your inverts and everything in between. Take care of yourself, or you can't take care of all your critters and your family and friends and all the important ones to you. And so be sure to get lots of rest, and you know, I think if half of us did half those things half the time, we would have a world that's twice as good. So just remember to pay it forward, take care of the little things one at a time, and in the end it all comes back around to take care of you. And as a lot of people are on quarantine or just trying to avoid crowds and so forth, really, if you're in the hobby, lean in on the hobby, for friends online, to socialize, for fish, for breeding projects and so forth. Now's a good time to stock up before anything with the supplies changes. That's all I have to say for now, but I will talk to you all later. And if you want to help me out on Patreon, send these wonderful schools of fish to college, and or get chances to win wonderful prizes, buy artwork off of Teespring, and on and on and on. You know the drill. I don't want to beg. You can do so at Patreon or PayPal, or by supporting my artwork. Alright guys, I'll talk to you later. Take care, and swim on.